When did a friend's betrayal shatter your world at a major trade show? AITA for going totally scorched earth and disappearing after my friend exposed my entire private life at a major trade show and tried to ruin my career? I need to vent this out because I am sitting here in the lobby of a budget hotel off I-95, watching The Office reruns on Hulu, and my hands are still shaking 4 days later. I literally haven't slept properly since Tuesday. GL, I think I'm running purely on lukewarm gas station coffee and Talenti gelato I stress ate yesterday. So get this, the biggest reveal of my life. The moment my carefully curated private existence imploded happened not in a private text chain or a whispered argument, but on a 60-foot jumbotron at the International Logistics and Supply Chain Summit, ILSSC, a trade show where I was supposed to be impressing VP-level clients. Let me rewind, because if I don't lay out the context, you'll think I'm absolutely insane. I'm Laura Ivanov, 30F, and for the last 6 months, my entire life has revolved around this show. I am an analyst, and this was my chance to pitch my new supply chain automation model. It's nerdy stuff, but it was my ticket out of my current soul-crushing job. The complication isn't my job, though, it's the friendship. Specifically, it's Brittany Scott, 71F. Yes, 71. Look, I know. I met Brittany at a wellness retreat 2 years ago. She has this whole ageless goddess vibe, but she's definitely a helicopter parent on steroids, just not to her own kids, to everyone around her. She retired wealthy from owning a chain of small boutique consulting firms, and now she dedicates her energy to I don't even know what to call it. Meddling? Strategic emotional warfare. Brittany decided 6 months ago that she was going to mentor me. Mentoring in her book meant criticizing my dating choices, telling me I needed more vibrant colors in my wardrobe, and constantly pushing me to be bold in my deconstruction journey. See, I grew up super religious, and I've spent the last 2 years slowly, agonizingly separating myself from the church community and family expectations, the deconstructing faith part. This process is messy, and it involves a lot of very private, very raw journaling that I kept locked down in a password-protected file on my work laptop. Stupid. I know, but I was paranoid my family would snoop if I kept it at home. Brittany knew about the deconstruction. She framed herself as my spiritual guide, helping me find my true, untamed self. Turns out, she was finding my vulnerabilities and cataloging them. Past me was such an idiot. This all came to head at the trade show in Orlando. We were there Tuesday morning, 11:47 a.m., when everything went sideways. I was wearing my most professional, boring navy pantsuit and carrying my iPhone 14, already at 47 notifications, because the work Slack channel was having a meltdown about a missing pallet of industrial fittings. I was supposed to be meeting a potential partner at the huge booth we had rented. Brittany insisted on being there because she was networking and supporting me. She was wearing a completely inappropriate hot pink caftan, BTW, which should have been my first clue that nothing good was going to happen. Also present were the two people whose careers she was also managing: Jeffrey Patterson, 46M, and Claire Peterson, 50F. Jeffrey is the quintessential enabler, sweet but spineless. He runs a small SaaS company, and Brittany convinced him she was the key to his next round of funding. He smiles, nods, and fetches Brittany espresso shots from Starbucks every 45 minutes. We were standing there, pretending to be engaged in the logistics of intermodal shipping, and Jeffrey was literally standing guard over Brittany's purse like it was the nuclear football. Claire Peterson is the objection maker. Sharp, but she constantly butts heads with Brittany, though she never pulls the trigger on leaving the manipulation cycle, because Brittany holds the key to some contacts Claire desperately needs for her new blockchain venture. Claire kept giving Brittany side-eye and making passive-aggressive comments about the caftan. The whole dynamic was exhausting. Suddenly, a massive display screen near the main stage, the one usually reserved for showing the conference schedule or maybe some sponsored content, flickered. Official ILSSC logo disappeared and was replaced by a title card in jarring, huge Comic Sans font that read, Laura Ivanov, the truth behind the trademark. My stomach dropped to the floor. Literally, I felt that cold, immediate panic that makes your ears ring. Wait, what? I stammered, looking at the screen, which was now cycling through images. The images weren't of my professional bio. Oh no. The first picture was a screenshot of an intensely personal text exchange with my older sister, where I was raging about my fundamentalist parents and saying I hoped they enjoyed their retirement in Florida with their cult money. I'd been venting to my sister, who is totally supportive, but the context was horrific. Then, there were screenshots of my private journal entries, ones discussing my deepest fears about losing my community, the ones questioning literally everything, and the entries where I criticized some of the toxic beliefs I was raised with. The phrases that flashed on screen were things like, I hate this constant performance, and maybe I'm just happier on my own, but the silence is terrifying. My face must have been sheet white because Jeffrey, 46M, finally stopped watching Brittany and looked at me, a genuine look of shock washing over his perpetually accommodating face. Laura, what is that? Is that yours? He whispered, nervously fiddling with his Apple Watch strap. Claire, 50F, stepped forward, her arms crossed tight. She didn't look shocked, though. She looked pissed. Brittany, 71F, however, was beaming. Took a slow sip of her overpriced Starbucks latte, looking at the screen like it was her greatest artistic achievement. Isn't that marvelous, Laura? Brittany purred, her voice carrying that slightly too loud theatrical quality she always uses. You've gone public. You're authentic. This is the bold move we discussed. My brain short-circuited. We had not discussed publicly broadcasting my spiritual trauma to 5,000 supply chain professionals. I looked at the screen again. Pictures were cycling faster now, including an entry about how stressed I was that I couldn't afford the $1,247 rent on my apartment 3B if my contract wasn't renewed, and the fact I had exactly $347 in credit card debt I was trying to hide from my landlord. You hacked my laptop, I whispered, the rage finally bubbling up, mixing with absolute disbelief. You stole my files. Hacked is such a harsh word, Brittany chirped, waving a dismissive hand. I simply showed you the value of transparency. Your audience wants all of you, darling. The deconstruction is your brand now. The final slide hit the screen, and this one wasn't just personal, it was actively malicious. It showed a screenshot of a Venmo payment I had made to my old roommate for $43.67 for a grocery bill, but it was overlaid with a huge, red block of text that read, "Hypocrite. LAURAIVNOV is still accepting financial aid from her old church CONNCTONS. That was a straight-up lie. $43.67 was for Trader Joe's organic pesto and chicken breasts, paid to my totally secular friend Jess, who is zero filter and is an atheist just like me. But Brittany had twisted the narrative to make it look like I was secretly taking money from the religious group I was publicly distancing myself from, painting me as a fraud. You're trying to ruin me, I managed, my voice raw. Ruin you? Nonsense. I am setting you free, Laura. Ray just angry because you're scared of freedom, Brittany said, maintaining her terrifying composure. Claire finally stepped in, her objection-making mode fully engaged. Brittany, this is illegal. You exposed her personal financial details and private communications. This is doxing. You need to take that down right now. Oh, Claire, always the killjoy, Brittany sighed dramatically. This is disruption. Besides, I outsourced the actual digital work. My eyes narrowed. Outsourced. Just then, Bobby Wright, 37M, walked up. He's the monster-in-law. Well, he's going to be the monster-in-law. His nephew is marrying Brittany's daughter, and Brittany has somehow appointed herself the wedding planner, which means Bobby is currently living in a state of perpetually escalating anxiety about floral arrangements. Bobby looked at the screen, then at Brittany, confused. Brittany, honey, is this about the linen supplier? Because I told you the taupe is too drab for the reception. We need gold. Did you find that specific shade of teal yet? Brittany gave him a saccharine, sweet smile. I am busy launching Laura's career, Bobby. Now about those place cards, I look back at the screen, my heart pounding so hard I thought I might throw up the gas station muffin I ate earlier. I grabbed Jeffrey by the arm, who flinched. Jeffrey, where's that screen controlled from? Who has access to the trade show media control? Jeffrey, ever the enabler, stuttered. I think it's the AV booth. Why? Is that Brittany's new slide deck? No, I hissed. It's my life being destroyed. I spun around and stared at Brittany. She was literally posing for a selfie in front of the screen showing my most embarrassing journal entry. The audacity was breathtaking. I needed air. I walked right out of the convention center, my navy suit feeling like a straitjacket. I didn't stop to grab my bag, which had my wallet and my 2018 Honda Civic keys. My phone was dying, it was at 3% battery life, naturally, and I knew I only had a few minutes before the barrage of texts, calls, and emails started. I managed to call my sister before the screen went black. I was standing in the brutal Florida heat, hyperventilating. Jess, you will not believe what just happened, I gasped into the dead phone. I sat on a concrete barrier outside the parking garage and just ugly cried for 10 solid minutes. Mascara everywhere, snot flowing. I was devastated but also weirdly numb. When I finally managed to pull myself together, I realized my only option was to get as far away from that convention center as possible. I knew if I went back, Brittany would either play the victim, gaslight me, "You're being dramatic, Laura, it was just a little publicity stunt," or unleash another wave of manipulation. I started walking. I knew Brittany would try to call. She would try to send Jeffrey to find me. She would try to rope Claire into tracking me down. The thought of facing that manipulative energy again made my chest tight. I wanted to key her ridiculous, bright yellow BMW she can barely afford. I wanted to post a Twitter thread detailing every awful, passive-aggressive, controlling thing she had done. But I knew if I engaged, I would lose. She thrives on confrontation. And the resolution approach I had been wrestling with for months, the one my therapist had suggested for toxic family members, clicked into place. Ghosting. Complete, irreversible ghosting. I needed to disappear, not just from the trade show, but from Brittany's orbit entirely. But first, I needed money and transport. I walked a mile and found a Chase ATM. I took out $200, which was almost everything I had until my next paycheck. Then I walked to a Walmart, bought a cheap burner phone, a prepaid SIM card, a cheap backpack, and an industrial-sized package of Ben & Jerry's Chunky Monkey, because emotional breakdown fuel. My total grocery bill came to exactly $85.47. I ditched the expensive iPhone 14 in a public trash can. I knew Brittany could track me through it, and I didn't care about the lost data. Freedom was more important than my saved selfies. I found a rental car place near the airport. It was 5:30 p.m. I used the new phone to book the cheapest economy car they had, a beat-up Toyota Corolla. I texted Jess, my sister, from the new number. It happened. Brittany went nuclear. I'm okay. I'm gone. Do not give anyone my number. Do not tell anyone where I am. I'm going radio silent. Text you in 48 hours. I need you to go to my apartment and feed the cat. Key is under the fake rock. And I blocked every number I could remember, including Jeffrey and Claire, just in case Brittany used them. I even blocked Bobby Wright, poor anxious soul. I drove out of Orlando that night, listening to a true crime podcast about how people commit identity fraud, ironic, I know, and drove straight north. I thought I was safe. I thought the doxing was the worst of it. I thought that by literally vanishing, abandoning my job, my apartment, my cat, temporarily, thanks to Jess, I had won. I pulled into the budget hotel in South Carolina around 4 a.m. I checked in under a fake name, Linda R., boring but safe. I was exhausted, wired, and totally adrift. I paid for the room with the last of the $200 I withdrew. I was down to $14.53 in cash, and my credit card was maxed at $347, but I felt free. This morning, I finally dared to turn on the news on the lobby TV, just checking the weather or local headlines, anything mundane. What I saw wasn't mundane. It was footage of the ILSSC trade show floor. Chaos. Cops. And then there was Claire Peterson, looking absolutely terrified, being interviewed by a reporter. Reporter asked, "Can you confirm the allegations that this exposure of private information was designed to cover up the trade show's massive security breach, which resulted in the loss of proprietary client data?" Claire was visibly shaking. I warned Brittany. I told her the security protocols were weak. She dismissed me. She actively sabotaged the servers to make Laura look like the scapegoat. This whole doxing attack, it wasn't just about Laura's private life. It was a distraction. Brittany orchestrated the entire data leak, and she had the control access the whole time. Wait, what? I sank down onto the tacky lobby sofa. The initial doxing attack wasn't the main event. It was a smokescreen, a strategic diversion engineered by my mentor, Brittany Scott. And now, my former coworker, Jeffrey Patterson, who enabled all of her nonsense, was apparently being questioned by the FBI. I realized I didn't just walk away from a toxic friendship and a terrible job. I walked away from a potential federal investigation where I was clearly framed as the fall guy. And the absolute worst part? Claire, the objection maker, paused, looked dead into the camera, and said the following, and I swear I'm not making this up. "We are currently trying to locate Laura Ivanov. She's the only one who knows the final login credentials to the company's emergency backup server, which we need immediately to prevent further catastrophic data loss. If anyone sees Laura, please tell her to call the corporate legal team right away. Her silence right now is making her look extremely guilty." My phone, the burner phone, was silent. I felt the familiar rising panic. I know how this sounds, but trust me, I felt my spine lock up. I am currently in a random hotel, broke, jobless, and completely untraceable, exactly as I planned. But now my manipulative friend hasn't just ruined my reputation, she's potentially pinned a catastrophic corporate data theft on me. I have the login credentials. She is right. I do. What the actual fuck do I do now? Do I call the legal team and expose my location, risking jail time for a crime Brittany committed? Or do I stay gone and let my manipulative friend win by disappearing into the wind forever, which is the whole point of ghosting, but potentially making myself a wanted person? I am literally shaking. I think I need another pint of Chunky Monkey. Please tell me I'm not crazy for wanting to stay gone. AITA if I just vanish forever? I need advice now. AITA for going totally scorched earth and disappearing after my friend, exposed my entire private life at a major trade show and tried to ruin my career? Part 2, I swear, when I saw that footage of Claire on the news, my stomach tried to stage a jailbreak through my throat. I just sat there, frozen on that ugly floral sofa in the lobby, staring at the screen. The clerk, a very bored teenager named Kevin, didn't even look up from his phone, which honestly was a small mercy. I had $14 and change, and the worst corporate villain in Central Florida, 71-year-old woman in a caftan hat, successfully framed me for a major data breach. NGL, I briefly considered applying for witness protection. I stayed in that budget hotel for 2 more nights. I survived entirely on lukewarm gas station coffee and the remnants of the Chunky Monkey. I didn't dare turn on the burner phone again. I knew the moment I did, it would be a flood. Day 6, the ghosting commences on the morning of day 6, the paranoia peaked. I kept imagining a police siren rounding the corner of the I-95 off-ramp. I checked the news on Kevin's lobby TV again, late at night when he was distracted by TikTok. The story was everywhere. ILSSC data breach. Millions in proprietary client information exposed. They were calling it one of the most brazen acts of industrial sabotage in the last decade. And guess whose face they were flashing? Mine, my stupid smiling headshot from the company website, right next to a police sketch of a very generic white woman that was supposedly me, except she had way better cheekbones. The narrative had solidified. Laura Ivanov, disgruntled employee, used her deconstruction journey as a false flag operation, exposing her own secrets to distract from her true crime-stealing corporate data and selling it to a rival. The doxing wasn't the attack, it was the misdirection. Brittany is a terrifying genius, but like, in the worst possible way. I realized I couldn't stay in the Carolinas. Too close to home, too close to Jess, who, bless her heart, was probably texting my dead iPhone 14 constantly. I needed to go somewhere so remote and so far outside my normal social circles that even Brittany's manic energy couldn't track me. I checked my remaining cash, $14.53. Great. I knew I had to risk contacting Jess. I walked 4 miles to a random library in a town whose name I couldn't pronounce, logged into a burner email account, and sent a single encrypted message to Jess. To Jess, my sister subject, emergency, I'm alive. I'm fine. Do not contact this email or phone. I need you to do 2 things. 1, withdraw $1,500 cash from my savings account. It's the only one without a direct link to the corporate server login. Use the code word, pesto chicken, at the teller. If they ask about me, say I am on a silent retreat. This money is for the cat and for me to survive. 2, check the private messages on my work Slack account. I set up a calendar reminder on Tuesday afternoon, 11:30 a.m. to change the emergency server credentials because I had a bad feeling about the ILSSC booth setup. Brittany must have overridden the change after 11:47 a.m., but the email notifying me of the temporary credentials change might still be there. Send me a screenshot of that email only. Do not reply to any work emails. I'm heading west. Stay safe. Love you. I felt sick sending that, knowing I was dragging Jess into this, but I literally had no choice. She's the only one I trust not to fold when Brittany inevitably comes sniffing around. Then, I drove west. I paid for gas with the last $14.53 and drove until the tank was almost empty. I stopped at a truck stop in Tennessee, slept in the Corolla, and waited. Update, Day 8, the arrival of Jeffrey. I woke up shivering in the Toyota Corolla in the truck stop parking lot. I checked the burner email on the library computer first thing. Jess had come through. There were 3 new emails. First was titled Pesto Chicken and contained a blurry photo of a stack of 20s tucked into a Trader Joe's grocery bag. She wrote, I added $100 for your coffee addiction. The cat is demanding tuna. The second was the important one, a screenshot from my work inbox. It was an automated notification from IT. Temporary credentials for emergency backup server 3B alpha changed at 11:32 a.m. 7/19/2024. New temporary password, redacted. These credentials will expire in 72 hours. A wave of relief washed over me so intense it was dizzying. I had changed them right before the doxing. Brittany had framed me, but she didn't have the current, active credentials because the system updated faster than she could sabotage it. This means I still have the key, and they're trying to track me down because they need it, not because they think I'm a mastermind criminal. They need the access, and they need to cover their own ass. The third email was the one that made me physically jump. It was from Jeffrey Patterson, 46M, the enabler. He had used a generic Hotmail account, and the subject line was, "Laura, I need to talk to you." Laura, the email read, "I am terrified. I have been speaking to the FBI. Are asking about my role in setting up the AV systems for the ILSSC show. I told them I only handled the projection calibration. Brittany is calling me nonstop, telling me to stick to the script, that you asked me to upload a very personal presentation about authenticity. I know now that was a lie. I saw what was on that screen. I'm so sorry, Laura. I never knew she was capable of this. I saw her talking on a burner phone right before the Jumbotron switched over. Use me? She convinced me that the personal presentation was the key to my funding round. She said you trusted her completely. I think she's coming after me next. They took my work laptop and I'm basically collateral damage. Please, I need to know the truth. Did you really give her the login to the main network? I can't be arrested. I have 3 kids. I'm sitting in a terrible motel right now near Nashville. I ran just like you did. Please answer. I will help you prove this was all her. Where are you? NGL, my first reaction was pure, unadulterated suspicion. Jeffrey ran? The man who couldn't go 45 minutes without fetching Brittany coffee? But reading the sheer, panicked grammar and the detail about the FBI taking his laptop, it sounded genuine. He wasn't reaching out to lure me back. He was reaching out because the puppet master had finally cut his strings. I ignored him. Ghosting means ghosting. I couldn't risk revealing my location, especially if Brittany was tracking him. I drove another 4 hours, putting me squarely in Arkansas, which felt gloriously anonymous. I used the pesto chicken money to rent a cheap weekly room in a dingy extended stay place. It had a kitchenette, which was a definite upgrade from the Corolla. I finally allowed myself to think about the situation clearly. I had the credentials to the emergency server. The company, the clients, and the FBI all desperately need those credentials to lock down the data breach and potentially trace Brittany's activities. If I hand them over, I'm cleared of the data theft charge, but I expose myself to the legal repercussions of the doxing, the professional fallout, and most importantly, I stop the ghosting and open myself back up to Brittany's toxic orbit. If I stay gone, I remain safe and free, but I look incredibly guilty, and the entire company infrastructure collapses, possibly taking Jeffrey and Claire down with it. This is where the deconstruction came into play. For 30 years, I was programmed to sacrifice myself for the greater good, to be the martyr, to be the one who saves the community, even if it hurts me. That programming was screaming at me to call the legal team. But the new Laura, the deconstructed, slightly feral Laura surviving on caffeine and sheer spite said, "Fuck that." Brittany used my private trauma as a weapon to cover up a felony. She almost ruined my life and career. She needs to face the consequences, and if the whole structure she manipulated has to crumble to expose her, then maybe it needs to crumble. I decided to lean into the ghosting. Hard. I wasn't just disappearing, I was withholding the key. Week went by where I just existed. I bought a cheap used laptop off Craigslist for $75, cash, obviously. I spent the next 7 days watching terrible daytime TV and doing nothing productive. I stress ate Jess's $100 coffee money. I tried to focus on logistics jobs in Little Rock, but I kept picturing my face on the local news. I did, however, obsessively check the burner email for updates on Jeffrey and Claire. Update: Claire Peterson fights back day 15 this morning. An email popped up from Claire. It was sent from a corporate email address I didn't recognize. Laura, the email began, "I know you're out there. I'm still here, dealing with the fallout. The company is trying to clean this up, but the server is locked. They are blaming you publicly, but privately, legal knows the truth. They know Brittany had control access during the time of the breach. I need you to know something important about Jeffrey. He's completely broken. He tried to contact you. When you didn't answer, he panicked and went to the police, fully admitting that he unknowingly uploaded the doxing presentation for Brittany. He provided a ton of documentation about her manipulating him into making her his consultant, including text exchanges where she promised to make his problems disappear. The problem is, because he fled, they treated him like a flight risk. They booked him for obstruction of justice, I think. He's out on bail, but his SaaS company is gone. I am fighting this from the inside. They are desperate for those credentials, Laura. I understand why you are ghosting, but you need an exit strategy. The longer you wait, the worse it looks for Jeffrey and the easier it is for Brittany to consolidate power. I have evidence. I found the IP logs from the AV booth. They show that Brittany used a proxy server hosted by Bobby Wright's company to upload the final malicious slide, the one about your Venmo payments. She was leveraging his anxiety about the wedding and using his corporate network as a shield. I am meeting with my own attorney on Friday. If you want to talk to someone who will protect you, not the company, email me back. We can arrange a secure call. I'm done enabling her. I'm finally putting the objection maker energy to good use. It's changed everything. Jeffrey was arrested. Bobby Wright's company was involved. I sat back staring at the screen. The network of manipulation was so much bigger and deeper than I thought. Brittany hadn't just manipulated me, Jeffrey, and Claire. She was leveraging a totally unrelated person, Bobby, and his corporate infrastructure for her digital crimes. That level of calculated evil was breathtaking. And Jeffrey, poor, spineless, coffee-fetching Jeffrey, finally found his spine, and it immediately landed him in legal trouble. I wanted to believe Claire. She was the one who was always pushing back, but I couldn't risk an open call. Ghosting was still the only thing keeping me safe. I decided on a compromise. I wouldn't call the legal team, but I wouldn't let Jeffrey pay for Brittany's crimes either, and I definitely wouldn't let Brittany win. The counter-ghosting plan, day 16, I wrote a new email. I sent it to Claire's new private attorney contact, CCing Jess for safety, and BCCing a major industry watchdog news organization in a totally separate email. 2. Claire's attorney Jess subject. Credentials. Terms of release. I am not Laura Ivanov right now. Laura Ivanov is currently unemployed, destitute, and wanted for questioning regarding a felony she did not commit. She was framed by Brittany Scott, who actively stole her personal data, doxed her in front of a major industry conference, and used the chaos as cover for a massive data breach. I have the temporary emergency server credentials. They are good for 72 hours, starting today. We'll release the credentials, but only under the following non-negotiable terms, effective immediately. 1 full, written exoneration for Laura Ivanov regarding the data theft and doxing event, provided in triplicate and legally notarized, released to the public and the relevant law enforcement agencies. 2. The company must publicly acknowledge that Brittany Scott orchestrated the data theft using the doxing as a diversion. 3. All current and pending charges against Jeffrey Patterson, 46M, must be immediately and fully dropped. For a signed statement from Claire Peterson, 50F, confirming the details of Brittany's manipulation and the IP logs proving Bobby Wright's network was used for the malicious upload. 5. Severance package of $5,000 for Laura Ivanov, payable in Bitcoin, delivered to a new encrypted wallet address I will provide, to compensate for lost wages, personal data theft, and trauma. If these 5 points are met, the credentials will be released via encrypted message. If a single point is compromised, I will vanish forever, and your corporate server will remain locked. You have 48 hours to confirm acceptance of these terms. GL, I am currently enjoying the peace and quiet of not being manipulated. Sincerely, the keeper of the keys. I knew this was bold. It felt like something out of a terrible spy movie. But I was tired of being the victim, and honestly, Brittany had taught me that boldness is the only thing that gets results, even if she meant boldness to mean manipulation. I was weaponizing my ghosting. I went dark immediately after sending. I didn't check the email for another 2 days. Paced my tiny Arkansas room, eating microwaved ramen and thinking, what if I just made things 10,000 times worse? 2 days later, the miracle of the corporate legal team, I logged back into the burner email late in the afternoon. My hands were shaking again, but this time, maybe from adrenaline instead of panic. There was a massive chain of emails. The first was from Claire's attorney. The subject line, TERMS accepted. Call ASAP. The body was short. The legal team is panicking. Accepted all 5 points immediately. The data loss is astronomical. We are finalizing the exoneration papers now, and the Bitcoin is being prepped. Jeffrey is currently being released on administrative grounds. I immediately called Claire's attorney, not Claire, just the attorney. I used a voice modulator app I downloaded for 99 cents on the burner phone. I know, I was committing to the spy aesthetic. I wasn't taking any chances. Attorney, a harried-sounding woman named Ms. Davies, confirmed everything. Ms. Ivanovor, the keeper of the keys, we are ready to comply. We just need the credentials. We have cleared Jeffrey Patterson, and he's meeting with his own attorney now. The company issued a very carefully worded public statement this morning stating that the doxing was an unauthorized, malicious, non-company sanctioned activity designed to damage employee trust and organizational security protocols. Did they name Brittany Scott? I asked, my voice metallic through the modulator. They did not name her publicly yet. That is being handled internally, but they confirmed to law enforcement that she is the primary suspect and that the doxing was a means of distraction. Frankly, she's currently being questioned and her accounts are frozen. The company is using this as a massive liability suit against her boutique consulting firm, and the Bitcoin will be sent the moment the credentials are verified and the server is secured. Ms. Davies said, frankly, you have done us a massive favor. If we had tried to track you down through traditional means, this would have taken months. Good, I said. Send the Bitcoin wallet address. I provided the wallet address, which I set up completely anonymously. Within 20 minutes, I had confirmation. 0.08 BTC appeared in the account, which was exactly $5,000, and yes, it was the most money I had ever had in Bitcoin. I sent the credentials. New temporary password. Redacted, then I immediately shut down the email, took out the SIM card from the burner phone, and smashed the phone with the heel of my shoe. The aftermath, the ghosting holds 3 weeks later. It's been 3 weeks since I handed over the keys. I'm currently living in a different state, Kansas, and I'm couch surfing with an old college acquaintance. I found a part-time job doing data entry for a local brewery. Mineral stress, maximum beer discounts. The resolution isn't clean, but it's real. I'm still technically ghosting everyone, but the terms of my re-entry into reality are being handled entirely through Claire and Ms. Davies, the attorney. Brittany Scott, 71F. She didn't win. In fact, she lost everything. Official word is that she is currently under investigation for corporate fraud, industrial sabotage, and using her clients' networks for criminal purposes. Hello, Bobby Wright's corporate network. Her consulting firm chain is being dismantled due to the sheer liability. She tried to claim the deconstruction files were given to her voluntarily, but Claire's testimony and the IP logs proved otherwise. I've never heard her voice again, and that silence is better than any apology she could offer. Her entire world, built on manipulating people, collapsed because she pushed one person me too far. She wanted me to be authentic. I was authentically gone. Jeffrey Patterson, 46M, he's officially cleared. Ms. Davies confirmed that the company basically fell over themselves to drop the charges and give him a non-disclosure agreement in exchange for his silence regarding their security flaws. It didn't get his company back, but he's not facing jail time. He sent me one final email via the burner address I gave Claire, just saying, "Thank you, Laura, you saved me. I will spend the rest of my life learning how not to enable people." A small, genuine victory. He finally realized his codependency was destructive. Claire Peterson, 50F. Claire is now officially the office hero. She went from objection maker to corporate savior. He got a massive bonus, promotion, and the company is finally investing in the security protocols she had been suggesting for 2 years. She sent me a screenshot of the official exoneration statement, which was released to the press. It was beautiful. I was officially cleared of all wrongdoing and referred to as a courageous former employee. I think she's going to be okay. Bobby Wright, 37M, the poor monster-in-law. Turns out, he had no idea his network was being used. Was just too anxious about the taupe linens to notice Brittany installing a proxy server on his company's remote access point. He is reportedly completely distraught, not because of the legal mess, but because the investigation caused the wedding to be postponed indefinitely. He's blaming Brittany for ruining his nephew's happiness and has gone scorched earth on her himself, posting a truly unhinged but satisfying tirade on LinkedIn about manipulative people and linen choices. My family, Jess is a rock star. She handled the apartment lease cancellation, forwarded my mail, and is still caring for the cat. She says my parents are praying for my return to the fold, but they haven't tried to actively track me because the public statement confirmed I was a victim of corporate espionage, not a disgraced religious fraud. The deconstructing faith journey got a rocket boost, frankly. I'm no longer worried about community expectations. I'm worried about paying rent and buying cat food. Much healthier. My financial situation, the $5,000 in Bitcoin is currently sitting tight. I have a cushion now. I'm starting to look for remote logistics jobs, using Claire and Ms. Davies as character references, not my former boss, who was also fired, BTW. I'm still broke by normal standards, but I'm stable. I'm typing this from a folding chair in the small, sun-drenched attic room of my acquaintance's house. I have a new laptop, a very cheap Android phone, and a completely blank slate. The reflection, I am not gonna lie. Sometimes I feel a massive wave of guilt, mostly about the fact I left my professional life behind, and my Honda Civic is still sitting in the long-term parking lot in Orlando. Jess will eventually sell it, but it's a whole thing. I sometimes feel like a massive coward for not just marching back into that convention center and demanding justice. But then I remember the feeling of absolute, paralyzing fear when Brittany smiled in front of that Jumbotron. I remember the core truth of ghosting. You cannot win a battle against a master manipulator. Their battlefield is chaos, and their weapon is your vulnerability. The only way to win is to refuse to play. Ghosting wasn't about running away from a problem. It was about running towards my own safety and sanity. It was the ultimate boundary. I didn't owe Brittany my time, my explanation, or my attention. I didn't owe the company my labor or my life. I spent years trying to make people happy, my family, my church, and then Brittany seeking validation in all the wrong places. Now I only owe myself peace. I still have bad days. Yesterday I saw an ad for a new logistics trade show and I literally felt that cold panic. I deleted my LinkedIn profile just in case. The trauma is real and the anxiety about opening a new email is intense. I'm starting therapy again next week using the Bitcoin money, but yesterday Jess sent me a picture of the cat curled up in my old Navy pantsuit. And for the first time in weeks I laughed really hard. It felt like a small, quiet rebellion. I am safe. I am free. For the first time since I was 15, I don't feel like I owe anyone an explanation for my existence. AITA for ghosting completely and demanding ransom for the server key? Honestly, after everything Brittany did, and TA, I saved myself, and accidentally I took down a corporate criminal and got Jeffrey off the hook. That's a solid win in my book. We'll update if Brittany tries to send me a manipulative, passive-aggressive Christmas card. I've heard she's currently residing in a very expensive, very beige rental property while waiting for her court date. Hopefully, the beige clashes horribly with her pink caftan. Anyway, that's the update. Wish me luck finding a decent therapist in Kansas.